Hey folks, I'm making this video pretty much entirely on a whim. I don't expect it to do great on the algorithm or whatever. I don't know who even knows or cares about this game, but I just randomly had this feeling like I need to tier rank the screens of PCG Anniversary Special 2. And that is exactly what I'm going to do today. So, for those not in the know, PCG Anniversary Special 2, it is this game that Chris made for a while. Like, I think it was like a couple of years on this channel. We were playing through the game, and Chris committed himself to making 76 screens or 72? I forget the number of screens, and he did that. And each one of those screens was sort of like unique in its own way. Each one was sort of its own adventure. Each one had its own character and its own, almost like its own story. Like a lot of these screens you could legitimately just expand out, and each one could sort of be their own PCG. But that was sort of like the character of PCG Anniversary Special 2, was that it was, you know, it was this whole, like, jumping back and forth from one world to another. Okay, so let's start off with a classic, the portal tree scene. The portal tree is a recurring motif, especially in my PCGs. It goes way back to one I made when I was a little kid. It appears in all sorts of things, and here Chris has adapted that and made this tree with all sorts of portals in it that go to all different places. It totally fits the wonky environment of PCG Anniversary Special 2, but I do feel like it isn't really fully explored in this game, in that you sort of can't really explore it at will. You can't, like, go through one portal, come back, try another one. You just kind of pick one, go through it, and then, you know, that just takes you to the next screen, and then, sure, you come back to it a few times through the game, but I feel like, you know, it almost doesn't matter. You know, it's like the game, it doesn't break up the fact that the game is, like, you know, largely a linear series of adventures. So I'm gonna rate the portal tree kind of low on here. It's not bad. It's still cool. It's the portal tree and all. But you know, I'm gonna say I'm gonna give this one a B. All right, that's a solid B. You know, not bad, not great. All right. Next up, we have, once we have gone into this alternate universe of Grizel, which is sort of like a fantasy universe, we meet our old friend, the farmer. We can catch up with him and find out the farmer has been living, like, because, see, the farmer is a guy who we found in the distant past. He's, like, from the medieval past, and we brought him with us to the present day, but now in more recent PCGs, he moved to Grizel, and he's been living there with his farm, because Grizel, like, it's sort of a more natural environment for him. It's a medieval fantasy world, much like the home he came from, even though it's a totally different world. Anyway, this is a really good, nice scene. It's really nice that, you know, to be able to catch up with, you know, a good old friend from the PCG universe. But also, there's something mysterious going on here. This weird green, you know, vine, which, you know, is making you forget your memory, or like, the farmer doesn't remember it, I mean, and, like, he has all these weird green plants. So it's nice and familiar, but at the same time mysterious, and it ties into the rest of the game. You know, it's you know, I really like the you know, this pattern used for the background. This is a really good, solid screen. I like this one. I'm gonna give it an A. Okay, so next up, like, still in this world of Grizel, after climbing that green thing, we have this whole series of, like, weird, like, floating green platforms, you know, tying into the motif of the weird glowing green stuff that is hard to remember, and you have this weird creature hopping from thing to thing. This is a fun little puzzle, but it, like, you know, like, this is pretty solid. I remember this being an engaging challenge, but it wasn't anything super special or super memorable. So, you know, actually, I feel like I've been rating everything too high. I'm going to downgrade this to C and this to B, because, like, this is really good and solid, but, you know, but I feel like we need some room for things that are, you know, better than that. I'm going to put this on a B along with the farmer stuff. Next up, let's go to, oh my god, Superior Fat Eye. Like, yeah, this is this giant godly being created by, like, merging, you know, like, this weird merger of the fat guy and Matakoroshi, which makes no sense. But can a screen get any more PCG Anniversary Special than this, right? Combining two characters from two totally opposite places. Like, you would never think to combine these two characters, right? But not just combining them, but doing something like making it into this godlike figure, and like here's Zach all the way down here at the bottom. I really like the composition. Like the background is like enhances the artificiality of it. This is a really good screen. I am definitely giving this an A tier. All right, so next up, we've got this one. Now, this screen is really interesting and also hilarious. So this is like we've been sent through reality. This is after the Matak scene, but basically this scene is sort of almost like its own. Well, it is literally its own universe, right? So you play as a mixture of Zack and Fog Whistle in this weird universe that's a mashup of our PCG universe and also Ghosts, and also sort of is just its own thing. And yeah, so for some reason you're a head in a jar, but you're still alive. And Farzakan, who is a skeleton just like in the original Ghost, but this time he can move around and he has all the power, and you have to find a way to escape, even though you're just a head in a jar on a chain. Like, it is ridiculous. But then there's also the mysterious aspect of these green bubbles, and the way to get out of it is to realize there's green bubbles in the jar with you, and you have to take control of them. Like, this was super cool. Like, this on its own, I feel like stands on its own as a solid PCG in its own right. It also enhances PCG Anniversary Special too. It fits in perfectly with that game, but I just feel like this is going to be our first solid S tier, I think. So let's just assuming I can find this one. Definitely a solid S tier with this one. This screen, we could do a whole PCG set in the universe of that screen. That would be really cool. So okay, next up we've got. This is a classic one. So after just returning to the universe, to your own universe after all these multiversal and reality breaking adventures, we return home and there's this giant shadow like looming over the city. This is cool as heck, right? This is awesome. This is mostly like a cutscene though. You can talk to the shadow, but you can't really interact with it in that, there isn't really much you can do. You just have the conversation. He basically announces he's taken over the world, and there's just nothing you can do about it, and then it just goes to the next screen. So yeah, like in terms of presentation, in terms of coolness and what it means for the story, this is definitely an S tier. But in terms of like the actual like playing the screen, I'd say it's more of an A tier. I don't know. Do I give this one an S tier, or do I give it an A tier? Well, I think I'm going to give this one an A tier. It fits in here with this Matak one, like, totally. Okay, so then next up, we got this one where you're submerged and there's this giant creature trying to eat you. Now, I think this one looks really cool, but I don't really remember how you beat it, but I remember it not being, anything special. There was nothing, like, super interesting about the gameplay in this one or about the story. It's just a fun screen. It just looks pretty cool. So I'm just going to have to give this guy a B tier. Okay, next up, we've got... Oh, man, we've got this one. This one is bonkers. It's like, so the premise is, what if Poochie were driving? This is a game that Chris and I played when we were kids. Poochie was my dog when I was a kid, and we used to imagine what would happen if Poochie was driving, like, because he's a dog, he can't drive, but if he did, what would happen? He would crash into things all the time, and that's sort of the fun of this. And so, I think, at this point, like, Poochie and I, like, our car was chopped in half, so we have to get past this weird alien thing, and then there's this whole weird maze of streets. Brilliant. I would never have thought of a screen like this. Oh, this could only come out of Chris's... I mean, that's true of a few of the others here as well. All of this could only come out of Chris's brain. But yeah, all right. I think I'm gonna give this one definite A tier. Definite A tier. It is... Just for the concept of it, it is insane. Like, you gotta love that. So next up, let's see. We have this one, and we're not doing these in any particular order. We're just doing them in whichever order they show up. But okay, so this one is sort of like a weird. This is a face-off, right? We got Zach and Pucci versus the Rich Kid and Poyencio. Now, this is quite a screen. Like, at first, it doesn't seem like there's much going on here. It's just like four characters facing off against each other. But the more you explore the screen, the more you realize that the Rich Kid has become like basically omnipotent, and he has Poyencio, which is Via's character, working for him, which is quite a shout out, by the way. Like, that's a deep lore cut. But all right, yeah. So you have to like beat someone who's basically immortal. There's no way to beat him, and it ends up being the only way to do it is to somehow shrink yourself down and go inside his body. Bonkers, absolutely bonkers. That was a fun screen. That was like an interesting, because it's frustrating because you're facing off with the Rich Kid, but it's also like, how am I actually gonna like beat this beyond just the character interaction of fighting with this guy who hates you? It's also just like, what exactly are you supposed to do here, right? So I think I'm gonna give this one. I'll give that an A tier. All right, so not too many S tiers so far, but also not so many C's and no D's. But let's see how it goes. Oh yeah, this one is just a cutscene, like just a brief cutscene. It's the descent into the Rich Kid's mouth. That is, or into his body, I should say. Chris really had fun drawing this one, and this is very, very interesting. It's sort of like in terms of like. It's very expressive. It really does its job well in terms of like conveying the story, but it's also very so unlike every other screen in this game and every other screen Chris has made for any PCG. Really interesting artistically, and it's just really, really cool. I think I will give that one also an A. So next up, we've got this scene inside the Rich Kid's body, and you've got to sort of navigate all these like little antibodies and cells and try to make your way up into his brain to stop him, and which is a really cool concept to going on Magic School Bus with it. This is definitely Chris making the most of PCG Anniversary Special 2. I hate to be a broken record, but I think in this case I am just gonna have to give this one also an A. I know it's a lot of A's, but there's going to be other letters besides A after this. Okay, so after that we've got, this is a cool one. This is the one where you're sort of flying in this cat suit because you've got this like spacesuit from a race of cat aliens, and you're over the moon, and you discover this base, which is the base for the the Shadow. It's supposed to be the Shadow Realm. This is really cool. Like, again, I really like the composition on this one. I love Chris's space scenes. They're beautiful, despite looking like goofy as heck. But like, the stars in the background feel like very gentle, and like the way the moon, the composition, it's very beautiful. So artistically, I like it a lot. But again, there's not much going on gameplay wise here. This is mostly another cutscene. It's hard to rate those. I think in this case, I am going to give it. I think I'm going to have to give this one a B. I think I'll have to give that one a B because even though it is very beautiful artistically and it does really well express what it's doing, just like this one up here, the difference is that, I feel like it's more like this one in that, it expresses what it's doing, but it's not like groundbreaking. We've already had multiple interesting like space scenes before, and it doesn't really have much going on gameplay wise. So it feels much similar to these B ones than this one for A, because it isn't like breaking ground like this one did, right? All right, so next one we've got, this is a fun one. This is a really good character interaction screen. So we land on the moon, right? And we meet this guy, and he is the guardian of the Shadow Realm. The fact that I remember what his name is and what he sounds like even kind of proves that this is a very memorable screen. I spent a ton of time trying to convince this guy to let me into these doors that would take me into the base. And like, you can go back and watch the playthrough. I spent a ton of time talking to this guy, like trying to get into this guy's head. And this is one of those really good conversation scenes where by talking to a character, you learn about the backstory by asking questions, but also you learn about like you're learning that in service to how do I, convince this guy to give me what I want, right? Like you're trying to achieve a goal here. You're not just like learning stuff with no purpose. And it really, like, when you really get into a good conversation like that, it really gets to be like a person. So this is a really engaging scene, and like by the end of it, I ended up feeling for this guy, right? And like I wanted to help him. I wanted to like make him my friend. And yeah, just a really satisfying scene overall. Really well done. Like visually, there's not much going on here, but it expresses what it needs to, right? Am I gonna give this one an A or an S? Well, first of all, do I think... you know what? I'll give it an S tier. I think that's a really good screen. Even though, like, I might have bumped it a few points just because, like, it doesn't look as good visually as the other ones. I think, based on how engaging the screen was, that makes it worth it nonetheless. So, okay, let's keep going. After that one, we've got this one. You are getting sleepy, but you literally see the letters. That's like a fun gag. Like this one shows up when you are actually infiltrating the moon base, and they give you some knockout gas basically, and you hallucinate that you see these letters, but you can actually get them in their inventory screens, which is really cool. It speaks to the sense of unreality of PCG Anniversary Special 2. But and like composition wise, I really like this, like Zack being tiny and then like the letters taking up the whole screen. I think I'm gonna give this one either an A or a B, because it is cool and it is a cool concept, but there isn't really much more to explore in it. It's mostly just a quick cutscene. Yeah, I think I'll give that one a B. It is a good screen. I enjoy it, but like, yeah, I don't think it quite makes the cut for being an A. All right, so after that one, we've got oh my god. The Nazi Spaceball crossover, or like team up. I guess these guys are both working for the Shadow Alliance, and they've got me chained up, and of course the helmet from my cat spacesuit, of course. So yeah, like now these are both. Well, this guy's a classic character. This is Hans Gutenberg, who is also known as the Giant Nazi from another PCG in which he was randomly giant for no reason. And this is one of the Spaceballs, but he's got a chainsaw that's from Kurt's PCGs, who made the Spaceballs. Super cool. Randomest villain team up ever. I love it. And of course the classic setup of you're chained up and they both want to kill you, but they're distracted by how much they like hate each other, want to kill each other too. I mean, they don't hate each other. They're like allies, but you can try to make them mad at each other by taunting them, and it's good. That one. I'm gonna give that an A. All right. So after that, we got this guy. This is the collector. The server. He is the guy who shows up just to serve you with notice that you're being sued. That's his whole job. I like this interdimensional court. This guy's cool as heck. He's like just like this like middle manager guy, but he's this interdimensional, being, I guess. But yeah, it is basically just another cutscene screen. This one is very attention getting, with the background being pure white, and him like that one's good. You know what? I'm gonna give that an A. I'm gonna give this guy an A. That, like, come on. This face deserves an A. Tell me it doesn't. I dare you. All right, so then we got this one, Zack versus the Shadow. Now this looks cool as heck. I love the composition, even though it's goofy. It's like the court, it's like the whole versus screen, but Zack looks ridiculous. The Shadow looks creepy and ominous. It's such a weird clash. I love it. I will give that I'll give it an A. Just because it looks really cool. However, this one, which is Arcs the Varks versus Pizza, which is a hilarious matchup, but I am going to give that one a B because it doesn't look as cool as this one. So, all right, so just to show you what that one looks like up close. But yeah, then we have the actual trial scene. Now, this one looks really cool, and I like this one a lot. It has, like, what's fun about it is, there's the actual trial stuff going on, but then, like, the fact that everyone are all, like, classic PCG characters, you know, you got your 8-ball over here. You got Raisin. You got Balzac. Whoa. You got Balzac Globotron over here, and Retzel, and like all these guys who are like here to testify. Pretty great. Granny's even here from like the far distant future, because of course she is. Yeah, like all characters, some of them are classic, some of them are modern, like this guy over here, by new creators, which is awesome. Like, this is really well done. However, what I am going to dock points for on this is that most of the actual trial scene does not take place on this screen, but instead it takes place on a series of individual scenes where different people are called to the stand to testify. And so, like, I feel like if we were to take that whole thing as one screen, which it feels like it should be, then this would get a way higher mark. As it is, I'm going to give this trial scene a... I'm going to give it an A or a B. I feel like I'll give it a B. It's a really good, solid scene, but, you know, like I said, I'm docking points for that. Next up, we got the first trial scene. It's a random guy. Heck yeah. Putting a random guy on the... like, you know... I'm planning to like dock a bunch of points from these individual trial scenes because each one of them, like most of the screens in this list are like each one is interesting on its own. Each one could be its own game and is its own thing in its own right. This could not be. Like none of these trial scenes, like they're each just like part of this one trial scene, right? So I can't individually rate one of these screens as good as if it felt like a game in its own right, you know? With its own like sort of world and story and, you know, to be explored. But that being said, I can't dock points from this guy. That guy is cool. Like putting a guy on the stand, yes, you know, yes. You know what? I think I'm gonna give that a B. That's a solid B screen. After that, we got Tutorial Bot on the stand, which is cool because it is Tutorial Bot. Tutorial Bot is a lot of fun on the stand, and of course it's freaking Tutorial Bot, right? You know what though? I'm gonna give that a C. Like I said, I am docking points from these for that reason. I feel like I have to. Next up, we've got this Cronin guy on the stand. I love this expression on his face, hilarious. But yeah, like. I mean, the fun of these scenes is, you know, trying to to basically convince them that they're wrong, which is a lot of fun for a lot of these characters. But you know, it's sort of limited. Like it does sort of end up being kind of like the same kind of challenge, you know, again and again, which is fine for like this kind of sequence. I think it's cool, but you know, I'm not going to rate it super high for that reason. So, where's our Croton guy? Did I get the Croton guy in here? Where's the Croton guy? Here he is. Yeah. I'll give the Croton guy a C also, even though his face looks hilarious. Next up, we got this one with the snake. This is hilarious, but I gotta tell you, it's like not super memorable because I don't really remember what was going on in this one. Obviously, I'm trying to get past the snake to get to that door, but I really don't remember what I had to do. I should really review these PCG Anniversary Special videos and find out what the whole deal was with some of these, but the fact that it's not memorable, like, I'm going to give that a C. Okay, so after the snake, we've got this one. Now, this one is pretty memorable. This is the dream sequence. It's a dream, and you're confronted with these three guys, and you've got Mustache Man, a villain from Chris's dreams, who wants to kill you and eat carrots out of your body, apparently. You've got Goo, who is a character from Gumby, and you've got Superman, who, thank goodness, Superman's here to save me, except no, he's here to kill you, because this is a dream. And the solution is to wake up. This is a pretty good setup. Like, the fact that, like, every time they kill you, you try something, and they're like, wake up, Zach, that's not gonna work. And that's the clue. You have to figure out that it's a dream. Which is funny, because, like, the fact that you see Superman and Mustache Man and Goo doesn't tip you off that it's a dream, because PCG Anniversary Special 2 is so ridiculous in general that this could totally be here, like in the real world, right, of the game. So yeah, I am going to give this I'll give that an A tier. This is solid. That is solid PCG. And then we have Zack waking up. Just a quick cutscene screen, and come on. You know what? That's an S tier. That is the best. That is the best expression. I can't talk that. That's an S tier. Next up, we got this guy, which another cutscene, but this just looks cool as heck, right? We've got our like moon-based laser blasting Grand Fresnel, who is now like dating like the perfect one's girlfriend, like the bride of Perfecto. Oh, like, look, you know, there's something to be said for like not like relying too much on nostalgia or not relying on too much on crossover characters, things from other stuff coming in and it being cool just because, hey, I recognize that guy from that thing, right? But like Chris uses, like in this case, Chris is using these characters really well. It's engaging when it's like two characters interact that you never expected were going to interact, but when they do, it's like, oh my god, they fit together so perfectly, right? Like they match, like, you know, Grand Fresnel and Bride of Perfecto, right? They're both giant living space entities, and they're both lonely. She because she was in a toxic relationship, him because, you know, with the fat guy, obviously. Him because he's a moon, he's out in space, he has no one to hang around with. And you would never have thought these two things to meet. But then when they do, it's like, oh my god, it's destiny. It's right. It's like, how could I have ever thought they were not going to meet? And of course, this whole scene of like blasting with a space laser, awesome, hilarious. Like, and it just looks cool as well. Another one of Chris's awesome space scenes. S tier. And then we've got the scene of like Zack and I forget who that was, the other guy, like launching off of the base, each of us going to these two different worlds, Bride of Perfecto and Grand Fresnel. That one is, I'm not going to give as high. I'm going to give that one, I think I'll give that one a B. I think I'll give that one a B. It's a good cutscene, but it's not, you know, it's not blowing my mind. It's not breaking any boundaries. You know, it's just a solid, good cutscene, right? All right. Then we've got this scene with what was his name? Bebop? Yeah, Bebop. He's like a nature spirit who also has like a demon inside of him, and we're here on this like forest habitat on, you know, on the surface of Grand Fresnel. Very cool, but I don't know. It was a really cool scene. It feels like a B to me, though. I feel like I'm going to give that a B. Like, it's not as exciting to me as some of the A-tier scenes. Like, you know, yeah, some of these were really, really cool. Like, this one was really good. And definitely not as exciting as the S-tier scene. So, yeah, I feel like it feels like a B to me. So, all right, next up we got this ranch. This ranch with this, you know, woman who lives on this ranch. And, you know, and she has the like, she seems just super average and normal until it turns out she's got, like, weird portals showing up. Oh, yeah, there's something weird about her hat. I think she had, like, a portal inside her hat or something like that. This is a screen that feels like it's its own game. I feel like she could have a game around her. You know, the fact that, like, she's just in this super, super ordinary world. The fact that she has this little animal sidekick, and she's got her truck and her, you know, her whole, like, this feels like, you know, this is one of those screens that you could really expand on to be its own game or its own story or whatever else. I want to give that one an... Wait, that's just her. Here's the actual screen. That's I'm going to call that an A tier. Next up, we have this portal, which looks really cool, but, like, you know, the middle of it is the only part that really looks cool. Around it is just purple, which does help. It is cool, but it's like, you know, it's like, it's a very boilerplate cutscene screen, so I think I'm going to give that one, I think I have to give that one a C. Next up, we got this scene. This is our first visit to the real Shadow Realm, this alternate universe where the Shadow comes from. Very cool. Like, gotta love, like, the purples and, like, the green palace. That is cool as heck, right? Like, I can't talk that. Like, this really does its job of, you know, making it feel ominous, but also being weird and interesting, and like,
but also super desolate, right? Like, it feels interesting, like there's got to be more to this world, but there's also nothing immediately on the horizon beyond the castle. It's sort of like you have to go there, which makes it feel more ominous. So this is a really good scene. There are also like a bunch of fun challenges along this path. So I feel like I want to give that one an S tier, because that is so cool, and there's so much more that could be done with that world as well. Next up after that one, we oh my gosh, we have the return of the wizard Sluicebeard, and he turns Zach into a snail. Hilarious. No notes. Yeah, I'm gonna. I feel like. Oh, do I not have that one here? Oh, there it is. I'm gonna give that one an A. I'll give that an A. I know I'm handing out A's like candy, but you know, look, if it's an A, it's an A. What are you gonna do, right? So then we've got this screen where it's Schlotzenheim. That's right. And you're a snail, and you have to get past him, and he's super into workouts, and like, you know, I have to say, this is like, you know, I would dock points for the, like, it being of like basically no background once again, but like this is a really good opportunity to have like a nice landscape on the background. We're in the Shadow Realm, you know, it'd be nice to see more of that. However, this is a 10 out of 10 effort by Chris to like accurately recreate this character from one of Kurt's PCGs from like 20 years ago. Like he drew it perfectly, and he got the accent perfect. I don't know how he did that, and he just got the personality perfect. He modernized him, but also it is 100% that guy. Like, it is like, and you know, not every single one of the characters Chris brought in here felt like 100% true to the original character. It's, you know, some of them were like great, some of them were like not so great, some of them were like in the middle. This is one of the great ones. Like the fact that the gimmick of being a snail while having to fight or like get past this giant guy, amazing. Chris outdid himself this time. I will give an S tier to that, even though I wanted dock points for the lack of background, but it's a solid screen. Next up, we've got this one. This is like inside the house in the Shadow Realm, and of course we've got the long-awaited return of Hat Kid's friend. You know, I don't know, man, that's kind of risky guy. Wonderful. I remember having a lot of fun with this screen. There's a lot to interact with here. You've got your flower and all the stuff in the room, and him himself, and he can be argued with, but then also going into the mouse hole and getting up on the shelf. This was a really fun screen. It looks really nice and homey with the fire over there. Yeah, I'm gonna give this one. This one I'm gonna give a solid A, I think. Maybe even. Do I want to give that an S? I can't in good conscience give it an S, but I will give it an A though. Next up, we've got this screen with Ari, and oh my god, that guy is the worst. Yeah, and you had to like try to, like, I think this screen wasn't really fully functional because it relies on Ari like physically being there, but when we actually played the screen, he wasn't. So I have to dock points for that reason, even though this was like this guy was evil. This was like a fun gimmick and whatnot. But I feel like the Ari thing, like, as much as it's cool for Ari to be there, I do think I'm probably gonna have to dock a few points for that. I think I will put that screen in. So yeah, unfortunately I do think I have to put this one in C tier because of, you know, the Ari thing. So next up, we've got the maze screen. You know, every PCG's got to have a maze screen. This one is no exception. I really like the color scheme on this one with like the purples and like the cyan, I guess, like gives it like this underground like kind of feel. Like, you know, like this guy being here is a super memorable character, like just being this very chill agent of the shadow who just like his job is to keep you talking while they can set up more traps. And like, of course it worked. I talked to him 4 hours, and like, but he revealed so much lore. Yeah, and then, you know, you've got your fig here, you've got a lot of fun traps and everything here. This is a really solid screen. I think, especially that guy really elevates it. So I do think I'm going to have to give this an S tier. That's a very, very solid screen. Next up, we've got, oh my god, we've got the Mountain Man, which is this guy, versus the artist formerly known as the Nazi Machine. Wonderful. Now this screen, for those who don't remember, there's a whole series of events that lead up to it, but this is unlike the other screens in that it's not just a drawing. This screen is an actually playable computer game in which you have to fight the Nazi Machine, and it takes the fight music from when there's these kind of fights from the old Indiana Jones and the Fate of Atlantis. Oh my god, it is so good. It is so good, you guys. That's 10 out of 10. I have to give this one S. I'm sorry. That is full-fledged S tier. Next up, we've got the ninja fight. This is a screen from early on in the game, and you infiltrate the rich kid's mansion, and there's a ton of ninjas. And this is a really good, solid screen for the beginning of the game. It looks great. I love the perspective, the little bit of perspective. It gives it an interesting look, right? How it almost looks like a flat screen, so it feels very true to Chris's classic PCGs from when he was a kid. But there's a little bit of perspective to make it more visually interesting, and the color is great. The texture, not just the color. And there's lots of little interesting things going on here. Why does that guy have a goldfish? What's going on? And this guy has flowers? And then we've got TV screens where you get your tantalizing first view of the shadow, and then over here we've got a message from Zuvak as well. This is a really solid screen. This is really well done. I'm going to give that one... Let's see, where's the ninja fight? I'm going to give that one an A. I was tempted to give that one an S tier as well. It is a really, really solid screen. And I do like it more than some of the other screens on here, on the A list, But A is really, really good. And I feel like this screen is really, really good while not being super mind-blowing. It's exactly what it should be. I am not of the opinion that every screen should be mind-blowing. I don't think it would be ideal if every single screen was an S. You need some A's in there because sometimes you need some setup, You need things to gradually, build up, Sometimes you just need a fun ninja scene with a few tantalizing hints in it and a few fun gags in it as well. And that is exactly what this screen does. And it is what it is, perfectly. All right, so that being the case, next up we've got this screen, which comes right after the ninja screen, but it's the rich kid, and we're on top of his castle, and we're on top of this weird green bubble, and there's this other stuff that's coming out of his castle, and the air is all weird and fuzzy, but you have to defeat the rich kid. This screen felt so great. It felt so great to face off against the rich kid for the first time in so many years. And we're he didn't even remember what our fights were about many years ago, and neither did I, but it didn't matter. It was him again, and we were fighting again, and we're up here in this weird, choppy air zone. It's great. It's great. What's not to love about this scene? Even though there's not a ton going on, there's only really one thing to interact with. It's a boss fight, really. I'm going to give this one I think I'm going to give this one an S tier. Next up... we have, this is a really cool scene. So we've got our sewers, and then the actual playable area of this screen is up in here. And if we zoom in on it, it's still interesting, right? Here, it's Zach and James, and then there's all these tunnels to explore and go down, and we've got this is when we start encountering all sorts of random PCG characters, from Fungazoid to Oliver, the Sonic Activists character, to down here we've got a mole from Moleville, and of course we've got Pinchzoid Krabicus, now mutated into this giant radioactive monster. I love it. Chris is bringing back characters. Chris is at his best when he doesn't just bring back a character. He brings back a character, but takes that character to the next level, right? That is really cool, and that's exactly what he does with Pinchzoid Krabicus. But also this screen, with what a beautiful contrast with this unbelievable deluge of green toxic waste, and this monster coming out of it, to these sort of like drab and dreary like sewer tunnels where like nothing has color at all. Such a contrast, and the composition is awesome, and it really captures the feel of paper computer games, of like what playing Chris's classic PCGs felt like, but does so in such a new and visually interesting way. You know what? I think I might just have to give this one an S tier as well. All right, I'm sorry. Like just that visual, the way it's laid out, but also like the fun characters to interact with and all that stuff. Like that's a really good scene. The Zuvak cutscene is a solid, like, you know, this right here. I love this random control panel. Like Chris did a great job. Like visually, this is perfect. Like the static on the screen and like the controls, like this just looks so cool. This is exactly like if there was ever an animated series version of this, like this is what it would have to look like, right? That said, it is just a very simple cutscene. There isn't a whole ton going on here, and it's just, you know, pretty obligatory, just conversation with Zuvak, and he pretty much just says, hey, some stuff's going on, you know. So, I'm gonna give that one, I think, a solid B. It's a good scene. It does what it needs to do, but yeah, that's all I have to say about that. Next up, we got the crash landing, where our ship crashed, and we're outside of this this sewer, and it's like, yeah, I mean, there's not too much going on this screen. You just have to wrap on the sewer and like contact James, who's underneath. So I think that I'm gonna give that one B or a C. I think I'll give it a C. It's fine. Like I don't really have anything against that screen. Like there's nothing wrong with it. But yeah, I think like I think it's like I like it less than a lot of screens. Like I like it a lot. Don't get me wrong. But like these screens that are on B, I feel like are more solid than this. This is just sort of a connector screen. It's just like in between, which is valid. You know, like this game should have like, you know, solid connector screens. But yeah. In fact, I'm starting to think maybe I should demote some of these to D's because like, well, we'll come back to that. All right. Next up, we've got this. Oh, cool. We've got a classic battle scene between the Tabernacle ship from Balzac Globotron versus a fleet of Croden ships that are weirdly in orbit of Earth. This is cool as heck. Beautiful. I love the colors. I love the composition. Like this is the coolest like we've seen, you know, the Tabernacle like looking because of the color and because of like, yeah, this is awesome. Like, oh, I love the white outlines of everything. Wonderful. So yeah, I am going to give that one an S tier. Then, next up, we've got the dinosaur scene. Like, is there any basically first screen that fits this any better than this, right? Like, this is, first of all, like, this is the most classic PCG thing. Like, if you were to pluck a scene right out of Chris's PCGs as a kid, this would be it. You're, like, riding like crazy on, like, a rocket surfboard, and there's a dinosaur chasing John F. Kennedy. And, like, I dig. I dig it. Like, this is, like, and, like, I also just really like the composition. I like the background. Like, a lot of the time, Chris doesn't draw a nice background or a foreground. This has both. It has that really nice forest in the background and plants in the foreground and a path, and it's got this red sun in the sky. Cool. Yeah, I might, like, because it's so important to the game, because it's so fitting, that's either an A or an S. I feel like I think I have to give it an S. Alright, next up, we've got the Killbot House. The Killbot House is fun. Like, it's a lot of, like, this is a whole lot of, like, you know, like feels like too good to be true, and it is gonna kill you, you know? Like, well, it's a killbot, right? But it's like being friendly and being a cook and feeding you food. But if I eat it, is it gonna kill me? But also, like, you know, this is a fun, you know, tense scene. So, yeah, that is a fun one. I don't feel like it's like super mind-blowing though. I feel like I'm gonna give that a solid A. I feel like that is like as good of a scene as this one is, These are like really good scenes that like are super important, but they're not like the most important or the best scenes of the game. They're just really, really good, right? So after that, we've got... Oh, I really like this screen. Now, this is the map of this town, whose name I am forgetting right now. But over here, we've got the Mountain Man, and over here, we've got this, like, cabin in the woods. And there's, like, you can trigger the Nazi machine to come out of that. And over here, you've got the rich kid's castle that, we saw the ninja fight and the boss fight on top of that. And you've got this town over here, which is where Killbot's house is, and Tutorial Bot is there as well. And you've got the baseball field. And, throughout this whole thing, you have this crazy scene where you're in the taxi, and the taxi driver is, like, driving like crazy, and, like, he crashing into everything, and finally, you have to realize that whatever you tell him to do, he does the opposite because he's backwards, I think, and you find out later who that is. Who the taxi driver is. Ooh, and we've got this over here as well. And also, there's something interesting about this town, in that we get these clues that there's something weird going on, because there's, like, a church that's, like, that, like, people are getting food from the food bank, and, like, it feels set up to be a mystery, but it's, as far as I remember, never followed up on in this game. Like, this is a scene which has a lot of richness to it, and it also gestures at stuff beyond it. It makes you want to explore it. It makes you want to come back to it quite a bit. In fact, it makes you want to come back to it more than the game lets you come back to it. And I feel like that is part of what makes it so intriguing. Like, I think that's really well done, that Chris, like, sort of forces you into the situation, but most of the time you're here, you don't have control of the situation. You're in a car barreling down, and you're just trying to not crash into stuff, but you don't have control of the car until you figure out what's going on. And by the time you do, you crash into the next scene, right? Like, whenever you're here, like, he sort of, like, doesn't let you explore it at your own rate, and that sort of, like, it creates the sense of, this frenetic craziness, but then it's also, like, at the same time, it's also, like, creating this sense of mystery. Like, you want to know more about it. If he just let you explore the thing at your own rate, then you would find out the answers, and, like, there wouldn't be as much sense, like, ominous sense. As it is, like, I would love it if Chris ever made, like, a whole game just about this area. I think there's so much to be explored here. But yeah, I think, like, I think that is a brilliant scene, and I am going to have to give that easily an S tier. So, next up after that, we've got this one. Obviously I am a fan of this scene. I made this the cover of PCG Chronology, the book, which is the whole like history of the paper computer games, like their whole timeline and everything. So, yeah, it's a really cool scene. Look, I would be disingenuous if I didn't give that an S tier, right? So, okay, so, next up after that, we've got this crash landing scene, which looks really cool, but it isn't... I don't know. For a second, I would say it doesn't look as cool as the previous two space scenes we looked at, and it doesn't, but it's doing what it's trying to do really well. It's trying to create, like, because the ship is flying into the atmosphere, it's trying to create this sense that, like, everything is blurring because of, we're going so fast through the upper atmosphere. And, like, the fact that only the ship has, like, this outlining and this, like, this white stuff makes it look like the one thing you can focus on amidst this out of focus stuff, this blurry, like, fiery path and, like, the atmosphere. Really well done scene. But again, it is just a cut scene. There isn't really much to interact with. I think I'll give this a B. I feel like that's a solid B. Yeah, I feel like some of these scenes I really should demote to Ds. I feel like because like, some of these things that I'm putting in C are things that are good and do their function, and, like, I wouldn't change anything about them. Whereas some of them, I feel like, I would change stuff about them, So I feel like, I'll have to demote the RE1 to a D, and probably this scene as well, and I guess the snake, just because, like I said, lack of memorability. The portal tree is still really solid. These two are still solid. This is really solid. And, it's not that I hate these screens either. I do still enjoy playing all of them, right? Like, every screen, like, I enjoyed to some degree or other. I just feel like there's a clear distinction between these and these. So, yeah, I think... and I haven't been using the D tier at all, so I feel like I have to put something in it, right? All right, so let's see. What else we got? I'm not going to do the cover. Let's go to this one. Oh my god, this is classic as heck. Let me get my face out of the way so you can see it. Yeah, Keith and Kurt, right? Keith and Kurt, and they wrapped a present for me, and it's evil. Like, yes. Oh my god. This is hilarious, and it was also a good puzzle. But, like, like, see, the thing is, of course, this is, like, this really highlights that this game is really made for me, right? No one else would play this scene and be as amused by it as I am, but, like, the fact that it's just like, you know, it's like this thing that happened to us in real life. Keith and Kurt really did this, right? They would wrap insane presents, and you would, like, have to try to unwrap it, and, like, each layer, you open the outer layer, and then there's another box inside, but then you open that box, and then there's, like, styrofoam, but then you pull past the styrofoam, and there's another box, but then inside the box, like, it gets worse and worse. Then it gets to be, like, there's glue, and the glue gets all over your hands, and then there's, like, you know, rocks, and then there's, like, it gets worse and worse and worse the deeper you get, to the point where it's, like, almost dangerous. I don't know. But, yeah, that was one of the, like, that was, and, like, them standing over here and, like, giggling while you try to open their presents. That was what happened, you guys. Like, this is, like, Chris could not have expressed this reality any better. This is, like, the most realistic part of this entire game. So, yeah, 100% S tier. S tier for sure. All right. Next up, we got Charles the Detective on the stand. Awesome seeing Charles the Detective. But in terms of gameplay, you know, in terms of, like, the fact that, like I said, I'm going to dock points from all these, you know, people on the stand ones, because they're not really full screens in of themselves. They're not as rich as the other ones. And to score as highly, I feel like you should have to be that rich. Like, the whole trial scene as a whole, like, that as a whole would get, like, a really high grade. But each one individually, like, doesn't feel like it's a full screen. So the Charles one, I'm going to give maybe a... I'll give it a C. It's a good one, but, like, you know, not one of the top of the trial scenes. Next up, we've got Dr. Schultzenheimer. Oh my God, this is Schultzenheimer. I said before it was Schultzenheimer for the muscly guy, but no, I was misremembering. That was Schnugenheimer. This is Schultzenheimer, the character I played from a play when I was 15, a mad scientist. Testifying against me. Hilarious. However, by the time we get to this scene, the reveal that Schwarzenheimer is in the game has already, you know, we've already encountered Schwarzenheimer, and we already know what he thinks by then, so this scene is, like, while it's fun to try to, like, fight with him verbally, and I do enjoy that quite a bit, I guess I'll give that a... I'll give it a B. And that's Leela. We got Leela. Oh my God, brutal. It's brutal because she would absolutely be my harshest critic. And so it would be the hardest to convince her. I love it. I'm very entertaining. I'm gonna give that a B tier. Next up, we got the fat guy, and he, like, wrecks the stand. Hilarious. That one is going to get an A tier. like, it's the fat guy. Next up, we got Zuvak. Heck yeah, Zuvak. Zuvak is going to get B tier. I'm sort of rushing through the stand ones, because, like, they're not really, like, interesting enough on their own as, like, screens to talk about. Next up, we got the Rich Kid. Like, the Rich Kid, since returning in PCG Anniversary Special, up till this point, he's really felt like a forgotten character. Like, I figured he was a character that is never going to come back, but since his reappearance in PCG Anniversary Special 2, I really feel like the Rich Kid is, like, he's here to stay, right? Like, this guy really cemented his place in PCG lore through this game alone, and because of his appearance here, other people have made their own Rich Kid games, you know, from Castillo del Rich Kid, from Epic Worlds PCG to, you know, I think you've seen a few others as well. What a great character. I'll give him an A. Next up, we've got Genghis. Now, what's cool about this is that this is not the usual version of Genghis. You might notice Genghis has different hair than normal. He has a different, obviously, skin tone than normal. He's got a different staff color than normal. But, you know what? See, like, the thing is, that makes 100% sense. This is not the Genghis that we know. You know, like, and to be clear, just for the record, I am not actually, like, necessarily against like reimagining what a character looks like, even if it is supposed to be the normal version of them. Because like I think part of art is like, you know, reimagining things, right? Like I think it's like it's okay to give a different look to something. Even if like in universe it doesn't make a ton of sense. It's like, sure, but you know, this is a weird, wonky game anyway, who cares, you know? I mean, like if it's something like sci-fi or fantasy or whatever, like you can always think of a way to justify it if you really need to. But what's more important is, like, is this version of the character enjoyable? That's what I think is important. Nonetheless, this one in particular does actually make sense in universe, because this is an alternate universe version of Ginkus, right? What's cool about that is that this is the version of Ginkus that we were trying to rescue way back in the day in Ginkus's Gift. That would have been like 20 years ago we played Ginkus's Gift, and like you're told at the beginning of the game you have to rescue Ginkus, but we never actually see him, and you get like the orb that goes at the end of his staff, this orb, which allows you to cast spells in that game, but we never see Ginkus from that game, so we never find out what Ginkus from that fantasy world of Grizel would have looked like. And we finally, in this scene, find out what he looks like revealing, you know, a huge missing piece of PCG lore, specifically Grizel lore. I think Grizel is a universe in the PCG multiverse that's criminally underexplored. But for that reason, I am going to give this a A. All right, so then after that, we've got The Shadow. Putting this creepy of a villain on the stand, hilarious. I am going to give that as well an A. Finally, well, not finally, but after that, we've got, that's me. That's Zach on the stand. Funny. I'll give that a B. And next after that, we've got Chris on the stand, hilarious. Chris, of course, being a troll, hates me. I'll give that a D because Chris sucks. Next up, yeah. And by the way, Chris, if you're watching this, you heard me. I said what I said. Yeah, you suck. You suck. I would do the whole XS thing, but you know, I feel like that's for me. Like the equivalent for you is like QC, but you can't really like. I don't even know how you do the XS thing, honestly. Whatever, you know. Let's just move on. Then we got. Is that Sir Burb or is? Yeah, that's Sir Burb. The better version of Chris. The version of Chris who doesn't suck. I'm giving that an S tier because a version of Chris that doesn't suck. That's awesome. Of course, that's like a total fantasy. It's like impossible to exist in reality. But you know, it's a fun, you know, fantasy conceit there. Next up, we've got John F. Kennedy, because, of course, he's alive and still the president, giving a rousing speech, because he was in the PCG Anniversary Special, like the original one. Wonderful. I love it. That's S tier as well. And then we have the reveal that the Shadow is Slurm. Like, what the heck? Yeah, I share in-universe Zach's reaction. Like, it's like, number one, it's Slurm, and number two, it's an evil version of Zack. So, much to be said about this screen. Now, first of all, like, a lot of people in the community were not happy, like, especially Epic, were not happy about the reveal that Slurm is the Shadow. It sort of does, like, kind of deflate him, right? Because the Shadow is, like, super, super intimidating and super, super powerful, and we made this whole video about the mystery of who he could be. And it turns out to be this, like, doofy character I created in videos years ago, which, by the way, is such a Chris thing to do. But here's the thing, right? Like, I also don't think that's the real reveal, right? The Slurm thing, like, it's... The way it's played in this scene is sort of like a superficial reveal. It's sort of played kind of like... the real reveal is that it's a dark version of Zack. It's like my alternate universe equivalent. You know, through all the entire PCG saga, Zack's been going around doing all this heroic stuff, like unbelievable stuff, you know, like going on these incredible adventures. But it's sort of like, what if there was like a mirror image of him? In fact, the color scheme here like really captures that. He's like I mean, I think that's just because that's what Slurm looks like, but it fits thematically because he really looks like the negative of Zack. And like the idea that like, what if someone was doing all that stuff but for evil this whole time? And like he's taken over this whole world and transformed it into something dark. Like on one level, that's like a really cool idea. on the other level, like, it's pretty standard for, like, you know, heroes like to get a dark version of themselves. You know, Link has Dark Link, you know, Superman has Bizarro, and, you know, stuff like that. But, you know, I think it does make a lot of sense here, in terms of, like, the story that's been built up, you know, with all the time travel shenanigans that's going on, like, the fact that, like, who could be as powerful except, like, a reverse of the player, you know, like, somebody who's been doing all this stuff is also the one who's, like, caused everything. And by the way, this is the guy who caused all of, like, everything in the entire PCG saga. And, you know, totally for some, you know, for some people, like, I could see that could be, like, a totally disappointing reveal, because, like, almost anything would be a disappointing reveal, right? Because for the Shadow, the guy who created the company, like, sort of the very reason the entire PCG saga went into motion, like, if not for him, Zack's life would have been the life of an ordinary kid. Instead, he had all these adventures because random guys started attacking him. All of this happened. Zuvak was built, you know, all these random guys attacking Zack, this alliance made with alien races, all of it comes back to the company, and the company was created by the Shadow. So, yeah, this is quite an impactful screen, and it's also a very controversial screen. And I think it, like, on some, like, I sort of don't know how to rate this one, because on some levels it does it really well, on some levels it does it poorly, and I don't know. Honestly, I do think on some level it would have been better without the Slurm layer added on top of it. You could have just said, I'm Zack. You didn't have to, like, call him Slurm. And when we were playing the screen, Chris did drop that gag pretty quickly. Like, when he first appears, he's like, I'm Slurm. But then he starts talking like, that's right, Zack, I'm your evil. At least that's how I remember it. So, like, you know, him being Slurm is sort of it felt pretty irrelevant to the character. But then on the other hand, like, in defense of it being Slurm, like, this is Chris, right? He was always going to choose something ridiculous, right? And, like, I'm not just defending that, like, because it's inevitable, like, of course Chris would. I'm sort of defending it because, like, that's sort of the style of this game. It's sort of this ominous stuff contrasted with something silly. So there had to be a silly component in there. Like, there had to be a silly part to this. And Slurm fit that bill perfectly, and him adding the negative color scheme to it really works as well. So there is, like, good to it being Slurm. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know how I'm going to rate this one. I honestly don't. So, what I'm going to do is... Wait, do I have any other screens I can rate first? Maybe I can kick the can down the road and avoid it. Yes, I do. Yes. We've got... Oh, wait. First, we've got this one. We'll come back to that screen, don't worry. But first, we've got this screen with an alien saucer abducting you and you being pulled out of the city. Very cool. I'm going to give that one a B tier. Like, it does what it's supposed to do, but, like, it's just a pretty... It's a connector screen, right? It looks good. It looks cool. It's like, what the heck? You know, but that's, like, what almost every screen of this game does, and, like, this one doesn't do anything special, like, super, you know, interesting or memorable beyond that. So, yeah, I think it's a good solid B. Next up, we've got, once we're inside the alien ship, we've got the conveyor belt of death. That's as PCG as it comes. The conveyor belt of death, I'm going to have to give I'll give it a B. I enjoyed it quite a bit, but I don't think it's, like, one of the best scenes in the game. Next up, we've got the party. The party is so much fun. Now, you know, this is another excuse to, like, see a whole bunch of, you know, random PCG characters just all interacting with each other, and that you can interact with as well. But, you know, it's done in a really good way, a way that makes you engaged, because, like, you're here, you're as the rich kid, because you've taken over his brain, and you have to go interact with these people, and there's, you know, attention to it, in that you're trying to achieve a goal, and you're sort of undercover, and Zuvak's undercover over here as well. Do you blow his cover? And, like, all these characters are interesting. You have Glaxarn, the Singular from Space Cells, and of course there's, you know, good old Tutorial Bot. It does not fit here at all, but that's exactly why it makes so much sense to put him here. Speaking of which, that is Cypress Parker, the girl from Ghosts, who fits in here even less, because this is like a meeting of, like, supervillains basically, and random little girl, which is very interesting. That makes me, like, this all sort of makes me think, like, maybe there's even more to her than we knew. We already knew she had, like, weird green... Like, she was the only one who could see the green bubble and could remember it and had a name for it. She had powers, so she could, like, expel the ghost from the room. Like, something mysterious was going on with that girl. But why is she here at this meeting of supervillains? What is going on here? Yeah, so Chris, if you're watching, I take back everything I said about you sucking. So please make please make a game where we find out what's going on with Cypress Parker. I beg of you, we will not suck anymore. Well, that's not true. You still will. I'm sorry, I can't suppress my nature for long. But yeah, still do make that game though. But yeah, so we've got over here. That's us. It's the rich kid, of course, and this, I forget who that is. Like one of the ghosts, I think. But yeah, we've the fat guy and this guy in a cube. Like, this is a great scene. This is a great scene. I am easily gonna give this. Wait, do I have the party here? I don't think. Oh, there it is. I am going to give this S tier. That is a really good top tier scene, easily. So then next up we got. Oh heck yeah, we got a classic tactics battle. Yes, yes. This is the kind of battles that we had in Ginkus's Gift. Back when Chris was trying to make that into kind of like an RPG. Like it would have like RPG battles in it, and he had actual rules for it and whatnot. And this one like took that concept, like that same battle scene or the battle style, and it modernized it, coming back to the same world as Ginkus's Gift. And here, if we zoom all the way in, we can see all our characters. We have this whole team together. Zach, Zuvak, the random guys you met at the bar, the farmer, Super Bard, the bird dude whose name I forget. Yeah, it's like this. You could make a whole game out of this. Like this party going on a whole extended adventure. Like this is one of those scenes that is really engaging. It's like does something new and interesting with something old. We see the forces of darkness from Ginkus's Gift. For the first time, I didn't know they were crab people. Why are they crab people? Like, there's so much about this. Like, this shows us that there's so much about the story of Grizel that we don't know pretty much anything about. And, it makes you want to explore more. So, yeah, this screen does a really great job. So, I am going to give this one S tier. Yeah, so, next up, The Seer. So this is a super spooky scene. I love the background texturing here. And of course you've got, weird objects and you have to pick one of them and jump from them. You've got this fun aspect in which there's the moon is out, but it's called Gran Grizel. So because this is in the universe of Grizel, that fantasy universe we're talking about, it has its own equivalent of Gran Fresnel, and that is super interesting, but we just sort of get that dropped and then don't get that explored. So this is another thing that makes you want to explore this world more yet again. The Seer is this whole interesting thing that has her own backstory, but also is sort of there to tell you what you have to do and about the larger thing going on here, which is the plot of PCG Anniversary Special 2. This is a really, really good scene. I feel like I might want to give this one an S tier. So what's even left? Oh, just the end. Oh no, we've got the Tutorial Bot in Space screen. Check that out. It's Tutorial Bot in Space. I don't remember what scene that was from or what was going on there, but I'm giving it S tier. And finally, we do have the end. What a beautiful ending scene, right? It's super simple. It's nothing going on, just sort of fuzzy mystery, more mysteries to come. But that was the end of this chapter, right? It's sort of unsatisfying end to this unsatisfying game. Intentionally so, by the way. It's very satisfying in a lot of ways, but Chris keeps it unsatisfying by constantly giving you a little bit of what you want and then teasing you to make it feel like you're about to get more and then yanking you away from that. It is brilliant. It is it keeps you going throughout the whole game, and at the end it leaves you just sort of without a solid resolution. Well, you do find out who the Shadow is, but his plan is not foiled. We don't know what's going to happen next. Will he succeed in taking over the universe? Will he unmake the universe and remake it in his image? Well, we'll never find out. Or maybe we will find out in future PCGs by Chris. But he hasn't made them in a couple years since this, so we really don't know. But this is a really beautiful, good ending scene, and it just kind of makes you reflect on the wild, crazy, interesting, intriguing adventure you just had. And so many of the pieces of that adventure, you can imagine tangent lines going out and exploring those worlds more. Like, I want to see more of Grizel after this, you know, that fantasy world where he had put together this whole adventuring party. And, you know, like, I want to see more of that world where you're the severed version of Farzakan mixed with Zack, right? I want to find out more about what's going on with the Green Bubbles. You know, I want to see more of, you know, what's going on with Balzac Lobotron and his ship, like, during all of this. I want to see more of, like, the Shadow Realm. Like, there could be whole sagas of PCGs set in the Shadow Realm, right? Like, there's so many pieces of this that could be explored further, that could expand into their own franchises. PCG Anniversary Special 2 is such a rich game, and that's sort of why I wanted to do this ranking, because I just sort of wanted to highlight how much richness this game has in it. So, yeah, how am I going to rate this final screen? Oh, you know I'm going to give it an S. I'll give it an S tier. Oh, I was going to come back to this one, wasn't I? Am I going to give this one a D? Or am I going to give it an S? I feel like I could make the argument satisfactorily for either one of those. And just like the game itself, I am going to leave you without a resolution. Thank you folks for watching, and PCG you later.